By now, you have no doubt heard one of two opinions about How to Train Your Dragon. You've either heard some film YouTuber say, "Oh my goodness, we need to stop making remakes and make more original content," or you've likely heard regular, normal people say, "This was a fun time at the movies." So today, I'm going to be reviewing How to Train Your Dragon. I'm not going to be getting into any spoilers because very, very little is changed. There is not really anything to spoil, right? The story is basically the same as the original animated story, and that's not a bad thing. The story in the original animated story is a great story. Now, to address the other opinion, should we be making remakes of movies that came out in 2010? Are we really that creatively bankrupt? I think, on one hand, I don't love it, right? I don't love the fact that rather than make an original movie, DreamWorks has instead decided, you know what, we're going to do a live-action remake of a 15-year-old movie. I'm not necessarily mad about that. I'm not as mad as a lot of people are about that, because it very clearly seemed like there was a lot of care put into this film. The acting, I would argue, was just as good as the voice acting. Everybody did a absolutely smashing job. The story is, again, obviously very cared for, and they wanted to keep it as close to the source material as possible. I saw one really funny review for this movie saying, "Oh, okay, so live-action remakes are not the problem. Disney is the problem." This is obviously in regards to Disney's live-action remakes largely sucking compared to the originals. And that is because Disney tries to change things about the story. Now, obviously, I would like to clarify. In some instances, yes, some things need to change from the story. But a lot of time, the live-action remakes end up just being watered-down, worse versions of the original story. Whereas How to Train Your Dragon felt like the original story, but not in the original form. So, like, the fact that this is live action, in my opinion, gives this a lot of bonuses in different areas, right? One in particular is the fact that the dragons in this movie don't look animated. They look like they are real dragons, with the exception of a single time or two Toothless. But I would also like to clarify, Toothless and the CGI in general in this film was absolutely incredible. It looked beautiful. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. There were only two bits where I was like, "Oh, that was a little rough," or "Oh, that CGI looked a little bit bad there." But obviously, you're not necessarily, unless you're very, very closely watching the film for bad CGI, which I'm going to be perfectly honest, I partially was, then you're not going to catch the bad CGI. It is a very, very solid film, and I greatly enjoyed it. And I think if you even like the original, you're going to like this movie. This film is not, like, I would like to go ahead and say, is not a shot-for-shot recreation of the original film. Yes, a lot of the iconic shots are very similar. Yes, a lot of the iconic lines are there, or are very similar. But I think a couple things were enhanced about this film, right? The look of the film, the feel of the film, the lighting of the film. I can't get over how good the cinematography looked in this film. I loved it. I also would like to point something out. The original How to Train Your Dragon had a budget of $165 million, whereas the budget for How to Train Your Dragon this year's movie, before print and advertising, is $150 million. So they actually spent less on this movie than they did on the original, which I think is pretty cool. I think that's very nice. I, again, loved the look of the movie, loved the feel of the movie, loved the acting, but you inevitably have to circle back to the question. This is a live-action remake. Do we need more of these? And here's my answer. If it's done like this movie was, yes. Because this movie was not disrespectful of the source material. This movie did not change much from the source material. Now, I would like to clarify, I am not trying to say that, we should always follow the source material 100% to the T. But what I am saying is that it is nice to see directors, and people involved with the project seem like they care about the project and aren't just cashing a paycheck. And I think that is the moral of the story with this movie, because albeit I would like to see more original films, but unfortunately original films are a lot greater risks than guaranteed proven successes. Not necessarily quite as much recently, but especially with sequels and prequels and all of that, it is generally considered a lot safer than making, say, completely original films. So did I enjoy How to Train Your Dragon? Absolutely. I thought it was a great time. I thought it was a very fun theatrical experience. Big sound made things sound very good. Make movie-going experience very cool. Big screen make movie experience very cool. I would recommend you watch this in theaters personally. If you have the money and you have the time, I would definitely recommend it. It is a fun, family-friendly time for the whole family to enjoy. And I actually mean that this time. A lot of people don't realize that when I say that, I'm actually making a joke that something is not very family-friendly. But I think that we do need to have conversations about remakes. We do need to have conversations about sequels. But as far as a remake of a movie goes, I would argue that this is the best, most faithful, best looking, best remake that I have ever seen. It was really nice. I liked it a lot. Go watch it, form your own opinion. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below if you've already seen it. And if you haven't seen it but then end up seeing it later, still leave a comment down below. I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all later. There's a mosquito. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill it.